Very happy to be here. First, I'd like to thank the Design Singapore Council and the Time Inc. for inviting me. This is great so far. It's a very inspiring conference. So we are here today to talk about design. Let's do that. Is it working? All right. So designing with purpose and engaging your customer, very crucial in our everyday work, how we come about designing our vehicles. So I'd like to, since we're talking about design, I'd like to first ask, or maybe a lot of us in this room has get this kind of questions. What is it that designers do? I'm sure people have many different opinions. This happened to be in our studio wall by one of the designers. Take a moment to look at them. You get to get a good laugh. As much as we want to be on the far right, we think we are, but there's a lot of things that need to happen before we can put pen to paper and coming up with something meaningful. It's kind of like the iceberg. The final product is only the very, very tip of that. So as designer, we need to figure out the entire structure, what below the waterline, and the things are very complex that we have to consider. Crucially, we have to design the entire structure, making sure what's above the water is exactly the way our customer wants it. So rather than talking about a specific product, it's really about the entire journey. I think a lot of speakers has touched on this yesterday. It's about the experience, the memorable moment. There's a lot we have to really figure out, orchestrate all around the customers' different lifestyle, life stages. And I'm sure later on, Clay and I will get into a lot of that about the different customer set. So today, we're going to show you a journey of how it's like for a car designer and how that inspires us to go beyond cars. So this is a great example. This is a new Ford GT. This design is done in our Dearborn studio in the US, but I'm honored to show you as an example. So first, a person's impression of a car happened to be from a distance. So it's all about the character. When you're talking about car, it's very important. The proportion, the stance, and then the silhouette all communicates the character of a vehicle. So for the GT, it's all about the super performance and proportion. I like to actually inject some idea in here. I've gone through explaining Design 101. I used to put some very exaggerated cartoon to demonstrate the point. But let me touch on the proportion. So for example, if I'm very tall, better bone, I'll be a model, but I'm not. So in the case of this, good design, before we're talking about all the design vocabulary, we are talking about the good bones, the structure. Give you an example of the stance. This is the funny as well. Remember back in the 80s, remember those fashion that you get a very wide shoulder pad like the baseball player? In the case of the car, when you hear people mention about the stance, basically the analogy is that you look at the end of the vehicle, the wheels, the presentation face is flush with the body. See, what happens is that when you get what I described, the shoulder pad, so the shoulders underneath there, it's not very confident. So when you have the wheels flush to the body, what it does is anchor the vehicle on the ground. Very strong, commanding. So we're all talking about the proportion. At this point, we haven't even talked about the design vocabulary, what you get in there. It's the good bones that make the difference. So proportion, the next thing we want to highlight is the design attributes. The GT actually get inspiration from the original GT40, but we're not talking about a retro design. We are taking the cues and the heritage, and there's a common in the design DNA, recognizable. For example, we highlight on the silhouette, the fender line, even the nostrils on the hoods. These are iconic and distinctive feature and character, but they are interpreted in a different way. They are different from one generation to the others. So a person may be recognizing all these DNA feature. They may be, as you get closer to the vehicle, you may be able to tell the nameplate or even the brands. So as you get close enough, then you notice the details. For GT, it's all about the craftsmanship, the execution. We get a little video here. We're going to show you. Really zooming in and looking at how things are put together, the fit and finish, the quality. It's really about the sense of precision and premiumness. So we just quickly walked you through the exterior design. And the same thing about interior. We make the very, very good impression. And quite frankly, for the exterior, you haven't get the impression. You never really get a second chance to make that impression. So after that expectation and the quality, excitement built around the exterior, it's crucial to have the great interior that measure up and deliver and complement the same expectation. We start out with what we call the first handshake as you open the door to get into the interior. We have a few seconds to really get the impression right. So in this case for the GT is that we really pay attention to talk about the volume distribution, the mass, the layout in the interior. It's all about the lightweight and efficient. And the second thing we're going to talk about is the fit. It's all about how you feel in this interior. Do you like what you see? Do you like what you touch? Or where to put your content? Or what about the material, the things that I want to engage in this interior? Now, this is a sport car, super low. So you can see that as you get in the vehicle, the space is rather tight. In this very tight package, it takes a lot of thoughts to figure out how could you achieve the great perception of space. So that is done in such that you notice on our instrument panel, it's more like a wing feature, very light, it's floating. And also you notice that on the edge around that, we play up a lot of contrast. The thick and thin of the line make it look like it's a laser sharp across the IP, and also making it very airy. And finally, we get to push start the vehicle. The biggest differentiator for car and any other product is that you really get to go somewhere. We like to talk about this is the moving sculpture. The beauty is that all the things considered, you also have the safety, the quality, and then you're enjoyable of your driving experience. For the GT, it's all about the precision. You notice in the center area, the concentrated encapsulated area of the functional features. And also all the control, commanding for the driver is within reach without the driver being distracted or take his hands away from the steering wheel. All this is laid out in a way that is very intuitive, easy to use. So I'd like to actually recap a little bit of the interior design philosophy. It's all built around these three clear fundamentals, and this is what informs us how we design our interior at Ford. The innovation first. Innovation is crucial. It's about everything that we push, we try very hard as the way that we change the world moved. The clarity of intent, for example, we would like to approach every project with a clean canvas. In the case of the interior, is that there's some special area of focus. Those need to be really carefully laid out because it's all about enhancing the driving pleasure as much as the performance of functional, as we just touched on. Lastly, it's about the connection. We need to use more compact, intuitive design. At the end of the day, design is what helps the customer make sense of the technology. I'm not sure if some of you encountered that. I read the interesting statement the other day. It's about the music. There's some music is for the composer, knowing all the complexity, the higher level of the music, and compose in such only the professional composer will understand. So it's kind of get the analogy, something that is the appropriate content in the right way, is easy, intuitive to understand for the customer. That's the key point. So before I do that, so the GT interior in philosophy, we actually thought that it was a great philosophy. We then, in the 2015, it was the 80th year of our establishment of design department at Ford. So to celebrate that and unleash the creativity, we kicked off a global design competition using the GT interior philosophy to apply to something you least expected, non-automotive object. I'm happy to show you some of the selection. In a short time, couple weeks of the entry, overwhelmingly, we get 160 proposals. I even remember the time it was the Chinese New Year, and then we couldn't quite work on it as the whole other studio are doing their entry. So after the holiday, the last minute, my team actually working very hard on that. Amazingly enough, we get 30 entry making into this board. You can see, actually it's hard to see the detail, but it covers a wide range of objects, from the high-tech ping pong table to the sailboat, to some futuristic hoverboard, and a lot of lighting, concept, and furniture. I actually selected a few to highlight that for you. So this is the plan view of a sailboat. It's inspired by the Formula One car. You can see that the concave shape on the top is enables stability and control. The teardrop shape actually really all designed around the water line to really make it suggest the sense of speed. As you can see, can easily glide over the water. This is a very unique table. Basically, the edge detailing encompassing the contrast, the metal, the aluminum is in part the strength, while in the middle, the core is the wood that a touch of warmth in contrast is very stunning. Every viewer look at it, you get a very different visual experience. And from here, actually, I select quite a few pieces from our Shanghai event studio. First, this is a very, very low sitting, we call it a chair. You can see that actually it's floating on a structure. This view actually is very stunning, as if the center slick, they are all floating pieces in there. Imagine this, if by the pool or by somewhere you're having a party, the water, the sand can seep through in there. It's about the function and marry with the really thoughtful design. And another piece, this is a very intriguing bar table, as if it's freestanding. It's very slim and lightweight. You're going to see a few pieces there on the big table, and actually that was our strategy. You remember the poster I put on earlier. So basically, almost every subject has been touched on. So our team joining it last minute, we thought, oh, maybe something bigger, a little bit more relatively monumental, going to help us to stand out. So that's why you see a few pieces like this. So this is the sheer scale of that. We thought it will look really stunning in perhaps a reception like this today or a media launch event to have people gather around. Another piece is called the origami chair. This is interesting. Very, very simple geometric form. They crash together. But you can see that by simply changing the material, the color, it gives you a very different effect, very contemporary looking. We also have a cutlery set. First thing you notice, again, is all in the proportion. Notice that where the spoon and the fork, long proportion of that is elongated in the scooping area. The idea being is that it will entice your appetite. And you also notice all the edge detailing is faceted, is sharp, actually give you a little bit different feel and touch. So again, we get this table, a bar table, as if they are floating. A lot of similarity. Remember the speedy form, the teardrop shape, and even in the middle, they have a slit in there. You can put your cold beverages. So let's not forget about our most important family companion, the dogs. This product is designed around the different life stages. I think for the dog lover, you know that when they are eating, there's lots of pressure building around their neck. So this is adjustable tray. You have the built-in smartness thing to the portion control, and also in different time of their growth, it can be adjusted. We also have this suspended tent. Last but not least, this is an interesting idea. This is an ice cream sandwich. We get a good laugh of this. It's deceiving because the edge in the middle, as if they're very slim, but actually there's a lot of ice cream content. And also it's done that is ergonomically function. I wish today we can serve it here, maybe next time. All right, so this is a collection of some of this object. We actually make the physical product. We've been showcasing this in the Milan Salon de Mobili and then the Hong Kong Business of Design Week. We're very happy today to be able to share that with you. The reason we are doing all this, the field design conference I mentioned just now, the same as the Innovation by Design. These are very important conference for us, particularly in Ford Design. We show this collection to you. I think that we actually want to get the dialogue and then exchange. And then there's a lot of professional design, or all of you, I think I consider you are passionate, you are in the design creative community. We are very anxious to have the exchange and then share your insight. And this also gives us a way to reach out to our customer that, to show the greater design potential and innovation. So why are we doing all this? We touch on, and we are not in a short time producing any of the guitar, the sailboat, but it's all about unleashing the creativity. At the end of the day, our job is to create the surprise and delight. It's all about the inspiration. I'm sure many of us always get asked the question, where do you draw or get your inspiration from? Most of us, maybe from time to time, giving the answer, the cliche answer, is everywhere. But it is the truth. I think all of us have a different interest or something that really touches us, inspires us. I also do the correlation is that I often get asked from young designer, so what's your advice? Where did they get inspiration? It really is everywhere. And I think trust your instinct. We are all different. And whatever that triggers you, interests you, go along, trust that, and expand on that. Because if it can touch you, it will touch the others in a very emotional and personal way. So emotional connection, we talked about that. Let's see, I think this is the end of our presentation. But today is a very special day. Clay, I'm not sure if this is planned. March 8th, Happy Women's Day for all the ladies in the room. I prepared, this is supposed to be the end of the presentation. I put together something special for us backstage. But first, let me check. I don't want to offend anyone. If someone loves pink in here, that's not my intent, but I have an example. All right, the stereotype. So we talked about earlier, the experience of the car is all built around orchestrate the different lifestyle, life stages of the customer. Most often of the time during my career, we don't get a chance to design that something, my favorite car, or that fit my life stages at that time. We assign to different projects. So we always need to put our mind into the customer experience, feel what they feel. So we drop all the preconceived notion, the stereotype. But that's what we do. But there's a stereotype out there. You're going to get a good laugh of this. So take a moment. So as I touched on earlier, pink is okay. I'm sure some people like it. It's a very personal choice. The stereotype is such that female not necessarily equal to a pink car or a cute small car. In fact, it could equal to all these and more. And today, I think female customers are getting a lot more important and influential in car purchasing decision. More females are more educated. They have a very, they get their opinion on what they like to buy a vehicle. I just want to highlight this point that as many customers set demographic out there, every time when we set out to do a project, a vehicle, we put the customer first, the human-centric, not our personal opinion. I think with that, I have one more thing to add.
It's a Friday night in the future.
This is great. Happy to share with you the great news. This is a project our team done last year as an internal last mile mobility challenge. And since then, it won the award within for internally. And last week, we showcased this with a VR experience in Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. I'm happy to share that news with you. We won the Best Application Automotive Award. So with that, thank you for your attention.